Black and orange. How can I go white?
Some tigers are white.
Yeah.
Do you want to go see the lions and the elephants first, and then the fish?
Yeah. And he did first. He fit me.
Lions.
Wait, he go out
Oh,
there.
he's going back the other way.
Hey, we go out there.
You found 3 sharks?
Right here.
Stay. He's probably getting hungry. I'm gonna feed him first, and then we'll get into Thursday thoughts. Okay, finally can do Thursday thoughts with you neighbors. Today's thoughts kind of stems from a text message that I got actually this morning from my mom. She texted saying she watched the vlog, I forget which one, and she said, "I think you're too hard on yourself." And she's not wrong. She's totally right about that. I am really hard on myself. I try to quantify what I'm doing. I try to measure what I'm doing at all times to know if I'm living to some kind of standard or to some kind of benchmark. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today on Thursday Thoughts was about benchmarks in our lives. Growing up, and I'm gonna preface this is gonna sound like a humble brag. Okay, maybe it is, but high school, like growing up, I got straight A's. If I didn't get 100% on a test, that was, to me, failing. I just had this pressure on myself to do really well at all times. This pressure, I don't know where it came from. It definitely didn't come from my parents. They never said that I had to get A's. I was just hard on myself. I wanted to be perfect. I didn't want to fail. And now, after school, after college, you go out into the real world and your benchmark kind of becomes, I don't know, your salary, your status, your job position. There's these kind of arbitrary benchmarks that we measure ourselves against. And most of the time we measure ourselves against other people, even though that's really not good and healthy to do. Even since leaving my job and my career, and I don't really have like a quote unquote salary, I even have fewer benchmarks, fewer things to measure my life against. And I think that ambiguity, that kind of fog, instead of seeing a lighthouse in the distance and know if I just go that way, I'll get to where I want to go. I just see the fog. There's no marker, there's no nothing pointing me in the right direction. And I think all those years of being hard on myself, of trying to avoid failure, of trying to be perfect has impacted me in such a way that now that I left my own career and I'm building my own business and I'm raising a family, all things that don't really have set benchmarks, set performance expectations. You don't know if you're doing a good job being a parent. I guess as long as they're somewhat healthy and alive, you're doing a good job. But for the most part, being a parent is the hardest job because you have no idea if you're doing a good job. And that drives me crazy. Tying back to earlier today when I got that text from my mom, like I know that I'm hard on myself, and I'm extra hard on myself because I don't know how to measure myself, and it just feels like I'm failing. And it's silly to try to measure yourself and try to understand if you're living to some kind of expectation, but most of those expectations, most of those benchmarks are arbitrary, are pointless, are made up in your own head. And you might be in a similar situation where you feel kind of lost, you feel like you're not performing or moving forward or achieving something. And unfortunately, you're never gonna get that. We're not in school anymore. We don't have grades. No one's grading us. No one's paying attention. Failure is actually a good thing. Failure means you're trying. I actually think the only true benchmark to know that you're pushing towards something, that you're trying to do something with your life, is failure. That's hard to grasp sometimes. If we avoid failure, we limit ourselves, we limit our potential. But when we go out, we try to start our own business, or we leave our careers, or we make art, and it just doesn't seem like we're winning or succeeding, that feeling of failure is in itself a benchmark. It means that you're pushing yourself to do something more. And I think, as hard as that is to accept, I think that's really our only benchmark here on out. And to wrap this whole thing up, the important thing is to realize that if we use failure as a benchmark, it's important not to identify as a failure, because you're not a failure. You're trying to do something. You're trying to do something extraordinary or different or new, or just trying to do something with your life. And you're not a failure, even if you fail. Does that make sense? Okay. That was a little rambly. Thanks for sticking around for today's Thursday Thoughts. Oh, Q&A. I posted a tweet. See, I can't even tell if I'm in focus. I posted a tweet yesterday saying I was gonna do a Q&A. And tweets are terrible for making those kind of announcements because they just get buried under everything. Let's see if we got any people asking questions. Yeah, we got one. From @istj27. What car do you drive? Do you have any plans on a new car in the future? We drive a basic Nissan Rogue 2010. It's not really that fancy of a car. It currently smells like vomit and lavender, cheap lavender from the incident this past weekend on our trip to Cleveland. Do you have any plans on a new car in the future? Yeah, we can't fit any more people in it. So once number 3 comes along, Erica's not pregnant, I should just forewarn you. If we have another kid down the line, we can't fit them anywhere. So we'll have to upgrade to probably a minivan. So neighbors, thanks again for coming along today's adventure. Don't forget, adventure always. Don't forget, you're not a failure. And we'll see you again tomorrow for another daily adventure. Bye-bye. TJ, I am stalking your profile. Do we know each other? Have we met? You look familiar. Do you work for Piper or work with Aaron and Piper team? Have we met? I think we met. Is that you and Aaron Watson? Is that you, TJ? If that's you, I think we've met. I think we met at one of the Piper events.